I'm a licensed, eligible psychologist. Thank you for joining us. I'm honored to be a guest of Latoya Shanell. I specialize in trauma and grief. I work with children and families as well as adults. I have lots of experience in working with people and populations in alternative schools, psychiatric hospitals, inpatient settings, outpatient settings, community mental health council, and now in private practice. And my goal is to break or assist people and families in breaking generational cycles of poverty, as well as transforming their negative core beliefs or negative thoughts into positive core beliefs that work for them to help them get and meet their goals.
Can you explain some of the generational curses that people may have and that they're not even aware of?
Generational cycles. I would say that some of the negative thoughts or negative patterns could be that I'm not lovable. Most things that are blanket statements, that are general statements like always, never, I'm a failure at everything, I can't do anything right, nothing goes right for me, the world is a bad place. All of those things are negative core beliefs, and we are seeking to challenge those and to change those. We replace those or we deny those, and we affirm or reaffirm through positive affirmations and through other methods. We thought stop. We stop those thoughts and we notice those thoughts, because a lot of those core beliefs, negative core beliefs, are unconscious and are unconscious. So if you have the iceberg pyramid, then only about this much information is at the top, at the small triangle, is conscious in our awareness. But the rest underneath is an iceberg and is in our unconscious. So we're not aware. Most people are not aware of their negative core beliefs. So we are journaling to get to the root of some of those things that are affecting our thoughts, our behaviors, and our emotions. So we don't remain stuck there in that place forever. There's nothing wrong with feeling your feelings, but we don't want to stay there forever. We want to transform, transmute, and move that energy somewhere else.
Okay, so when did you start Dr. Truth and Associates?
I started 2019 of February when I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. Most of my beginning work began in Chicago, working with Dr. Carl Bell, who was a Black psychiatrist on the south side of Chicago, 87th and Constance, doing work in the juvenile justice system, providing wraparound services for adolescents and pre-adolescents, 10 years old until 18. And so we would go into the court systems with them, provide assessments for them, and then provide services and link them to services in their communities, because we know one of the protective factors for people, but especially for youth, is to reintegrate them into the social fabric of their communities. So we link them and we collaborate with their schools and their teachers and their counselors there. We collaborated with the court personnel. We collaborated with their parents or their families or their foster families. And we collaborated with, if they have spiritual leaders or their pastors or whoever, along with us, who were the mental health therapists. So it was about maybe 5 or 6 people around them. So if you know about Bronfenbrenner's ecological model, then that's what the ESO, meso, and micro and macro systems, that's what we're doing. We're surrounding our children with all of the supportive services that can help them with the goal of wellness.
Nice. Okay, so thank you for that background. I've been knowing you for a very long time, very long time, and you've always been someone who's passionate about professional development, personal development. What are some things that you would suggest for people for personal development?
Mm. Oh, well, for personal development, I always would go to probably divine communication with God. But again, that's mine. I wouldn't force that on my clients, but I always integrate whatever spiritual beliefs that they have into the session. And so for me, I pray, I lay prostrate, and I listen to God, present asks to God. I'm trying to get on a daily practice. That's a goal. But I do it more often than I did last year. So asking God even questions that I have. Say it again.
That's progress, ma'am.
Yes, it's progress. So that's just one thing that I would suggest for professional and personal development is to have a relationship with whoever you believe to be your spiritual leader or God or spirit or whatever you call the person that created you. Another is a book that I recommend is The Artist's Way. It's by Julia Cameron, and she talks about morning pages. And the morning pages are when you journal or do a brain dump for 3 pages straight without lifting your pen, and you're just writing everything. You're not just writing like things that make sense or complete sentences. You can write lists, you can write anything, but you don't lift your pen up until you're done with 3 pages. That helps to free your mind so that you can have space for more creative thoughts. And so you're not worrying. What I've noticed a lot over the years is that a lot of us, especially Black women, we are very anxious, but we don't call it that. We call it, some people call it control. Some people call it worry. Some people call it whatever they call it, but it's a lot of different thoughts that are going on at all times. So we have a thought every 2 seconds, and we have at least 40,000 thoughts in a day. So what are we doing with all of those thoughts? And we know that those thoughts, a lot of times, are majority negative thoughts. And so what are we doing with all of those negative thoughts, worries, fears, anxiety that we have in our head? So let's put it on paper. Let's do something. Let's breathe it out. I do deep breathing. I always send the videos for deep breathing. You can YouTube deep breathing videos, 5 minutes, 10 minutes meditation videos, anything that helps you to transform your thoughts from negative to positive, even positive affirmations. They have videos for that. I love Tony Jones. Google her. I have so many new tools. So sometimes my clients are teaching me or sharing things that they are using that are helping them. So it's a two-way street. But I'm always looking for growth. Go ahead.
Aren't you in the middle of writing another book?
Yes, I'm always in the middle of something. Yes, I'm writing a book on self-care.
Can't wait for that.
You ready? You ready for that one? Yes, my clients have been helping me to get the content for the book, because every time that they present something to me as a need for what they're working on, then of course I'm storing that as, okay, this could be a part of the self-care routine, and they're helping shape and make me into a better clinician. So now I'm doing morning routines or morning rituals and also evening rituals. Because if we start off our first 15 minutes with something inspirational or something motivational that sets the tone for our day. In the evening, I'm having people take Epsom salt baths so that they can decrease stress.
I need that. Epsom salt is the best too. Also Epsom salt body wash. You all should try out because it's incredible. It's like a spa every day in the shower. It's like $4 or something like that on Amazon. You get this huge bottle with like a handle. Best thing. Just the smell, the aura is just incredible. I feel like it's
what is it?
It's Dr. Scholl's. I could look. I'm gonna post about it. But it's a body wash. It's by Dr. Scholl's. It is so good. Great way to start off your day, and it smells so good. It's like a spa day.
All right.
Speaking of self-care, I know for you, going to the spa, getting your hair done, that is not necessarily self-care.
No.
You have more Like, I think that stopped us in our tracks on Saturday during the summit. We were like, oh, like, we understand there's other methods, obviously, for self-care. We're like, okay, when I go to the spa, I feel like I'm doing self-care. I feel like I'm, taking the time for me, get my me time. But can you explain to us why that is not self-care? I know why, but explain. I was about to say it. Like, let me stop. Go ahead. You
I didn't say that's not self-care. I said that's a low-level form of self-care.
No. You're like, that's not, that is maintenance. I'm like, okay.
It is maintenance. It's very low-level self-care to let somebody else touch your body and give you a massage. And so when we talk about self-care, we're also talking about self-love. We're talking about the everyday, the integrated practices that we have, that we incorporate into our lives, such as, I think I gave the example of stubbing your toe or not noticing how your body feels, and you just keep going.
Right.
I stubbed my toe on the side of the table or something, or the chair, and I just kept going and just ignored and neglected myself, my body, my feelings, everything. And that's not self-love. That's not showing myself self-care. And so now when I do that, then I try to stop and say, ow, like that hurt. If I had my goddaughter with me, I would say, are you okay? Can I kiss it? Do I need to get you a Band-Aid? To see if she's okay. And sometimes we don't have those same conversations and the kind words for ourselves. Mm-hmm. We just feel like, let's just do all these things. And we're rushing to complete projects or work for other people. And we put them before ourselves and we neglect ourselves.
Well, thank you for that, because I was putting together gift kits for clients, running around, hit my knee. And instead of me constantly going, because I had a deadline, I was like, all right, let me listen to what Dr. Truth said. Let me have a little bit of self-care, sit my butt down, rub my knee for a little bit, maybe ice it, but I need to do that. But I mean, even just being aware of like certain things like that is, like you said, is part of self-care versus continuing on to meet this deadline for this client.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Put yourself on a schedule.
Yeah. Work on it.
And ask yourself every day, what does my body need? What do I need today? Mm-hmm. And then give it to yourself. And keep your promises to yourself. That's integrity. So that's a law. The law of integrity.
So, all right, mental roadblocks. As you know, we're actually still in it. Some people don't think we are, but we're still in a pandemic. The past 2 years have been very, very difficult, very tough on us mentally. Some people acknowledge it, some people don't. What has been some mental roadblocks for you for your business or your practice?
Okay. Oh, so some mental roadblocks for me in my business have been fear, self-doubt, and I'll give you an example. I had a speaking event and I was pacing my floor, probably pacing a hole in my floor. Like, I can't do this. Why do they want me to speak? I get nervous when I speak, all these different things. Might forget what I'm supposed to say or whatever, just anything to doubt myself. But then I had to talk back to my negative thoughts, talk back to my negative core beliefs that I'm not good enough, that I'm not worthy, that they can find somebody else, and all those things. I had to talk back to myself and say, this has been on your vision board for years. You know that you can do it. You've been trained in, Black history because it was on Juneteenth. It was for Juneteenth. So I'm not an expert on Juneteenth, but I could do a little research. I know the history of us, and it was around the time of Black Lives Matter. So who else better to speak than me? Right. Who has the background, who has been doing the empowering work. And so I had to basically talk back to those voices and those thoughts in my head telling me that I couldn't do it. So it doesn't matter what your title is, what your age is. We all deal with fear. We all deal with self-doubt. We all have those thoughts and limited beliefs and not, prosperous beliefs. Like there's enough for everybody and you're worth it. I was worth all the money that they paid me. Thank you very much.
A lot of people don't realize their self-worth, you know,
Yeah.
and it goes back to, as you just said, of having the self-doubt. But I wonder if it actually goes back to what you said of family cycles.
Yes.
Generational cycles. I keep wanting to say generational curses, but generational
Yes.
cycles.
We're not cursed. We're not cursed. So that's why I took that off.
I love that, actually.
So generational cycles. So there are patterns that families have. There's patterns that people have. And so a lot of when people come or families come into the session, then we're trying to make them aware of the cycles, and then it's their choice to shift and to change some of their own patterns, whether that's speaking patterns, thinking patterns, or behavior patterns.
I need to figure all that out. But if I want to figure all that out, is the best thing for me to do is to reach out to a therapist? Should I spend time with myself to, meditate and journal to kind of work through some of the feelings like that? Like, what do you recommend for starting to even understand the generational cycles?
Okay. So sometimes you can start with a book. I'm trying to think of a book that would be good on breaking your generational cycles. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one.
Sure.
But of course, Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery is always a good book by Dr. Naeem Akbar.
Okay.
But of course, I'm going to recommend that you go to therapy or a therapist. Even if you go to a therapist and they just give you some insight that you may not be able, that's objective insight, on some patterns that they may see in your life, in your relationships, in your thinking, in your feeling, in your behaviors. And even if you cannot continue to pay or stay or whatever, but now you know what work that it is that you need to do the deep dive on. I have clients that come in quarterly. I have some clients that come in annually for just checkups. And then I have clients that come every week or clients that come every other week. But you have to do the work. So you definitely have to do the work. It's not Ayanla fix my life. That's not what happens in therapy. I don't fix your life. I can help guide you. I can help say, have you noticed this and that? And you see how that's related to maybe childhood or your relationship with your parents. And that same pattern is being carried out in your current relationships with your romantic partner or whoever, or your boss. And once you become aware of those patterns, then it's your choice to shift. And when asked as the therapist, then we can offer, like, here is something that you can try. Let's try this exercise. Let's try journaling. Let's try, some releasing exercises. Let's try something that you may not be aware of, but we have plethora of resources that we can direct you to, and then it's kind of in your court to see how far you want to go or how deep you want to go in your healing.
There's a book recommendation. It didn't start with you. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name. Mark. Okay.
Come on, Flo. I see you. That's one of my prosperity partners, Skin by Lynn, the best esthetician out here.
Okay.
she's in Chicagoland area.
Okay. Reach out to me, girl, because I'm all about it. I'm in Chicago. I asked most of my questions. If there is anyone who has any questions, please comment so Truth can answer your question. So
and thank you for that book, because I'm writing it down, Melinda. It Didn't Start With You by Mark Wallen.
Yeah, I don't want to butcher that name.
Yeah, but it's very hopeful, because a lot of people have been doing the work, especially in the pandemic, on their own. A lot of introspection and self-reflection collective work and doing those things. So there's a lot of good content out here, even on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. You know, there are a lot of therapists that are more vocal now. They're doing lives. They have blogs. There's lots of different websites that you can follow, like Psychology Today, Association of Black Psychologists, Therapy for Black Girls has a podcast. They have some Black Men Wellness podcasts as well. You always can follow me. And I try to keep a running list of resources that you all can use. It's not just about coming into therapy, but sometimes it's getting linked to books, getting linked to podcasts that keep your mind on good, because we want to refocus our mind on some positive things that we can do to uplift not only ourselves, but our communities, and to get in touch with our purpose and our passion. That's the reason why we're here. To help fill the need of someone else that you were meant to serve. And so I just feel like my purpose is to serve families, children with trauma, people that are grieving, hurting, don't know how to process the grief, don't know how to process and mourn, because grief is the isolative feelings and like kind of crying and keeping it to yourself. But mourning is more of the outward expression of it, like we do in funerals, when we're allowing other people to join in the collective experience of the emotional expression of grief.
Wow. That's powerful. You know, it's been a lot of grief, obviously, these past couple of years, that I don't know if it's necessarily even being acknowledged the way that it should be acknowledged, especially considering, well, especially when it relates to other tragedies that we've had as a nation. I feel that there's been more focus and more empathy on some of those circumstances, I guess, situations that have, you know, that has happened. What do you suggest for people who are dealing with this grief and people aren't even truly acknowledging it, and they're complaining about things that are meant to keep us safe? I mean, because that's like a struggle I even have on an ongoing basis of just like, you know, I've lost an aunt to COVID, and I'm sure other people obviously have a lot of people have lost people, and I just don't feel it's being acknowledged the way it should be.
I'm sorry for your loss, for your aunt. And there are lots of things that people can do. Not everyone seeks therapy for grief. There was a book that actually helped my mom called One Day at a Time by Dr. Wolfett, Wlfett. And it's just reading per day that just acknowledges your feelings, that you may feel all types of feelings and you shouldn't feel guilty. There's no set timeline for how long you should grieve. Right. But the closer the grief, I believe, or the more, I don't want to say the more that you love someone, but they're different. I don't want to say levels either. There are different variations of grief and how much it affects your everyday life. And grief can turn into depression if it's not, you know, processed.
Right.
And so you have to process the grief. You have to feel the feelings. You have to have people that are supportive just to be there with you and not try to rush you through the process of grief, but to sit with you and just be quiet. Like, you don't have to say anything or do anything. Sometimes it's just being there or listening to the person that is grieving. There are grief support groups online and off. There are also grief camps for children. There are also rage rooms to get some of the anger out, where you can break things.
Good idea. That's a really good idea. And that's for children, because I think we need it for adults as well.
Well, the rage room is for anyone, children, adults. You might need to bring an adult with you as a child because they're breaking things with hammers and glass and wood and lots of different things, but it's to get the anger out. They also do that in grief camp. The children are given one guitar and they can destroy it. And then they're given another guitar that they take home and they can play music on it. So it's different functions for the guitar, but it allows the child to know it's okay to feel mad because I lost my parent. Or for a parent to feel upset because they lost their child, you know? So we want to allow whatever the feeling that comes up for you to be expressed. It's okay. You can feel numb one day and you can feel depressed the next day, and you can feel happy because you're recalling great memories that you had with your loved one the next day or the same day.
Right.
But it's all okay. It's okay to process all your feelings, to go through all your feelings. Journal them, pillow scream, deep breathe, whatever you need to do to get through it. But if you are struggling through grief, then you can seek grief counseling, individual or group.
I think you need to write a book about grief.
I wrote a book about grief. It's called Black Girls Cry. It's on Amazon. It's on my website. I wrote a book.
Like years?
Say it again.
Was that your first book years ago?
So that was my first solo book. This is my third book. Okay. My first book was Shift with Nikki Woods. It was a collaboration, an anthology.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that one because there was a book signing and all that. Well, whatever book that you write, I need to get all of them. I need to get the one on grief. I can't wait for the one for self-care.
Yes.
That's needed. Do you ever have events around like self-care, or I know you have your book signings, but do you ever have any like workshops or anything like that? Any online virtual workshop or in person, anything?
It's coming. DrTruthCoaching.com is coming right now. And I'll have lots of virtual events and women's healing groups and self-care groups and grief groups. I do have a grief group that's through Facebook right now, but it's a non-therapeutic grief group. It's just a support group to check in and to be a support. Okay. And we meet monthly, but we're on hiatus right now, but we'll be back shortly.
Totally get that. You need that time sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you have any last words, anything that is coming up for you that you would like everyone to be aware of? Anything?
So there's something that I just did yesterday with Dr. Phoenix that I'm very proud of. It was a workshop for single Black fathers and stressors that they have. We covered criminality and expungement as well as resilience factors. And so if you go to my website, then you can access all of those resources. I'll put them up probably this weekend. So go this weekend and access any of those resources if you know a Black father that is struggling or is doing well, but just wants some more support. So we have some supportive groups that I found that are national for Black fathers. And I'm trying to look for any, I don't even have anything pulled up. Nothing is printed out, nothing is pulled up. So you're just going to have to go to my website, drtruthandassociates.com, or follow me on IG at I am Dr. Truth, IMDRTRUTH. And then I'll load those and I'll make a post on Instagram too, so you all will know they're uploaded.
Sounds good. I'll share it once you do. I'll share it to our story.
Thank you so much, Toya. It's always a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you so much. And please reach out to her, you all, if you have any further questions. All right. All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, that wraps up our IG question and answer live. Thank you so much for joining us this week. And if you missed any of the other videos, they are right on our IG profile. So feel free to look at those. Have a great weekend. And next week, we will be dropping the replay for the virtual summit that we had last Saturday. All right. Have a good one.